The sun god's destination. Phage lambda is a lytic phage used to clone segments of DNA. They replicate by lysing or destroying their host cell and releasing more phages. On the bacteria plate, this results in a small clear zone, a plaque. When the deceased dispels the clouds, the unidirectional lytic pathway is working. Progeny are produced and the prophet excises. The funerary text states that the deceased sun god is journey into Osiris, the lambda prophet site on the host chromosome. One of the many texts referring to the deceased's destination states that Ra will guide him to the two conclaves and set him on the throne of Osiris. This language refers to the two arms of lambda genome, lodged next to the LAC-Z gene on the host chromosome. On the circular chromosome, which modern scientists designate with 100 minutes, the LAM receptor site or maltose high affinity uptake system is at the 91.51 minute location, approximately 16.3 minutes further in a northerly direction is the LAC-Z gene site at 7.8 minutes. This direction on the chromosome matches the northerly west to east journey of the deceased sun god to the prophet's site. See the sketch of E. coli in the road from Orion in chapter 22, showing the positions of the 7 RNA operons from the map of E. coli.
The little freezer section, little sections right there, yeah, the little short ones. It was in one of those.
The Duat as a star house. The funerary texts identify the biological origin of human life and the lysogenic lifestyle of phage lambda, whereas the lytic lifestyle allows a potential transformation after death that results in a unique species, yet the lytic lifestyle of eternity only occurs if one can arrive at the LAM receptor site or the polar area of the Earth cell and merge with the sun god. Related to this merger, it is obvious that the deceased hates inertness and sleep. Similarly, when the Horus triumphs over the dispute with Seth, Horus is no longer inert. When the great inert one stands up on his side, he is victorious and the argument stops. It is evident that Atum, or the sun god Ra, is the incoming phage lambda, and Osiris is the lambda prophet in the E. coli earth cell or Geb. Osiris lives with Horus when Horus overcomes Seth. Again, Osiris lives when Horus overcomes Seth and takes back the eye Seth snatched. The eye of Horus then becomes whole. The prophet excises the rolling circle lytic replication begins. So it is likely that the activity of the eye is the excitation of the lambda prophet, Osiris, and the resultant rolling circle DNA replication. So decoded, we have Osiris alive and risen, excision or excitation of lambda prophet, Osiris dead equals lambda prophet. Now when Osiris is alive and risen, the Horus lineage blossoms, which represents the transformation of the deceased in the Duat. As mentioned, the derivation of the word Duat offers support of this idea. In Egyptian grammar, Gardenia states that the word of the netherworld was originally the place of the morning twilight known as a duat. The individual ideogram in the hieroglyph for duat means star and house. The noun is feminine, which is indicated by the ending, so the individual components of the hieroglyph denote a feminine star house, suggesting a womb or house where a star is born, a new birth, a morning star. This meaning is further supported by references to the morning star being the deceased's offspring, the deceased ascending to the sky as a morning star, and the deceased joining other stars in the sky. The 14 texts preceding the pyramid text 666 refer to the deceased receiving the eye of Horus before star ascension. In other words, the deceased is Horus within his eye, and the eye of Horus in the duat becomes the morning star. We can infer that the eye of Horus develops into the morning or dawning stars that represent the deceased's transfiguration. This is further supported by Faulkner's footnote in Pyramid Text 639 that the eye of Horus is always feminine, once again suggesting the idea of birth and development from a womb and the importance of Isis as lactose. Faulkner also denotes in a footnote to Pyramid Text 569 that the translation of the word duat remains uncertain but appears to be a noun derived from dawn or morning. So the duat is that place where the first eye or cell of Horus is created after life on Earth through lambda DNA transcription, replication, and translation of protein. We can now add the following to our decoded signs, and we have the duat, or star house or morning star equals chemiluminescent reaction. And we have transduction/transformation of deceased sun god along with excision of Osiris leads to birth of Horus equals bioluminescent species. Bioluminescent versus photosynthesis. On the macroscopic scale, the funerary text suggests that if the deceased enters the magnetosphere at a site of magnetic reconnection at the polar cusp of Earth, then he will travel through the system, escaping to the cold light interplanetary magnetic field of the Sun. In contrast, remaining within the Earth's magnetic field may result in thermal entrapment of matter, where photosynthesis captures the sun's energy. The choice then is between bioluminescent and photosynthesis. The desired transfiguration of the deceased is becoming a celestial being, a morning star, a bioluminescent species retaining the consciousness of the deceased, albeit at a deeper dimensional level. The pharaohs are suggesting the primordial dominance of CI protein production in the lambda genome lodged in the first host bacterium resulted in the development of prokaryotes and eukaryotes such as ourselves. In contrast, at human death, if one is in the right place, the balance will be set straight by the deceased himself, who will recapture the origin of time, where his mobile elements, will insert into a incoming phage lambda to be transduced through a lysing bacterial cell, that is, exercising its lambda prophage. In the transformation, the deceased sun god emits light as he progresses through the duat or amduat, rectifying DNA damage, which suggests that he has internal source of light or photoreactivation process. These events coincide with the transcription, replication, and translation to protein of the recombinant human phage or luminescent species. In the chapter 4, going forth from Raset Yah, the deceased states, I am the great one who creates his own light. This would suggest that the transduction of the deceased results in the bioluminescent, which is the chemical production of light by an organism. The protein that produces light is luciferin. The luciferase is the enzyme or catalyst that cleaves luciferin in the presence of oxygen to emit light. The two lux operons are both controlled by the same operator, synthase, or VAI synthase. Butchered that. Transcription of LuxR is activated by CAMP CRP but repressed by iron. LuxR protein folds into an active conformation by GRO-L and GRO-S, or stress proteins. Transcription of the LuxI operon is repressed by LexA, or what we were calling the destroyer Apophis. So what are we to make of this? When glucose levels in the cell are high and the molecules CAMP/CRP does not form, but when glucose levels are low and CAMP/CRP forms and binds to a protein called CAT, which binds to the CAT binding site to activate transcription. The lac operon is depressed by high levels of CAMP/CRP, and transcription of LuxR is activated by the CAMP/CRP, but LuxR is controlled by LuxI. Now, transcription of the LuxI operon is repressed by LexA repressor protein Apophis, and a negative regulator of the SOS regulon. RecA protein activation and cleavage of the LexA repressor upon DNA damage results in the induction of SOS. All these related processes hinge on RecA activation and LexA cleavage, thereby repressing LuxI, along with the presence of lactose, which is Isis, and low glucose levels, allowing the activation of CAMP/CRP and enables transcription of other operons with LuxR. This may result in luminescent and is posed as an outstanding question for further research. Research does support bacterial luminescence being enhanced under SOS conditions. This guy named Sins in 2000 proposed that luminescence may enhance the efficiency of DNA repair and allow light-emitting bacteria to survive irrespective of an external source of light. The same guy says results show that the Lux gene are negatively controlled by the SOS response regulator, and effective luminescence of the Vibro Harvey is possible at low density under condition causing DNA damage. Whereas SIS also proposed that the luminescent bacteria have an internal source of light that is used in DNA repair by a photoreactivation process. The pharaohs described a similar process existing in the incoming lambda disease sun god, who emits light regularly during his journey through the Duat. So this suggests that the Lux gene may be present in the mobile elements or genetic heritage of the deceased, which is possible since the Lux gene is of eukaryotic origin. Also, the hieroglyphics painted in the bluish green color in the pyramid and the funerary text emphasis on the color turquoise suggests the blue green color of iridescence produced by bioluminescence, possibly the passage to the quantum holographic universe upon death restores these lux genes to humans in some inexplicable way, enabling the transfiguration to a bioluminescent life form. The Calabi-Ya lotus. The deceased has the power in the afterlife to transform into a lotus. The Book of the Dead vignette shows a human head springing from the lotus plant, symbolizing nascent life. Scholars suggest that the lotus represents all evolutionary forms. The realization of potentialities, or the central point. The Egyptians, the Chinese, the Japanese, the Hindus, and the Aryans have honored the lotus, which is remarkably similar to the importance of the rose in Western culture. The lotus shape is also popular with modern physicists and is very similar to the shape of the Calabi-Yah space, a six-dimensional geometrical shape that meets the mathematical equation for the curled-up dimensions of string theory. The theory proposes the fundamental oscillating strings of Planck length components lie deep in the core matter. Each string is made of one quantum loop of string. All forces and all matters arise these strings, which appear as point-like particles due to their smallness. The Planck length is 10^33 is about 100 billion times smaller than an atomic nucleus. Since the strings are so small, they can vibrate in large extended dimensions and also in small curled up dimensions. So we have our 3 space dimension, 6 curled up dimension in our Calabi-Yah lotus shape, and 1 time dimension for a total of 10 dimensions. Considering T-duality in our earlier observations on the string structure of magnetic field lines of the Earth and Sun, along with DNA structure, the theory does have some important correlations related to the innate architecture of our universe. Another correlation to string theory is the Eye of Horus, which almost adds to 1. And interest intrinsic property of every electron in the universe is that it spins at one fixed rate. Taking string theory a step further, supersymmetry is the idea that particles of nature come in pairs. These pairs have respective spins differing by half units. Bosons are force particles whose spins are 1, and fermions are matter particles whose spins are a half of a whole. When a boson is positive, the fermion is negative, and vice versa. So every known matter particle, including those that comprise a human being, has a super partner particle, a double, as the Ferber would say. Known matter particles have spins of a half. Translated, a la Egypt, the attempt to make the Eye of Horus whole, or a unitary one, will result in the return of the missing matter, or a translation of matter from pheromones to bosons status. Therefore, the lambda genome has the potential to create fermions. Fermions is the name, by the lysogenic lifestyle, and bosons by the lytic lifestyle. The idea is discussed further in part 4, the Book of the Dead. So, general conclusion for part 2. After reviewing our matrices, which are meaningful and coherent, we could say our lambda model in matrix 2 has some validity relative to the activities in the Egyptian afterlife. The solar wind / earth spin systems fit the model of phage lambda invading E. coli host bacterium, which exhibits dynamics similar to a quantum mechanical curved black hole and a protein folding funnel. All right, so let me pick up again. We will be here. The guided diffusion path of eternity, the third portion of the book, and it'll be chapter 15, the book Amduat. Yo, when we done, I appreciate y'all once again. Peace, kings, peace, queens, and we out.